Every great story needs a villain, the guy you boo, the monster you root against, the one whose downfall feels inevitable, and yet Suguru Geto feels different. He's a traitor, a mass murderer, and a generational hater of monkeys, someone who should be sitting at the same table as the worst of the worst. And yet, when he's on screen, you can't bring yourself to hate him. But why? I think it's because he's a deep, complex character with incredibly fleshed out motivations. But what does that mean? What is depth? Why does it matter? That's what this video is for, and if you stick around to the end, it doesn't matter how big of a Jujutsu Kaisen fan you are, I can pretty much guarantee you'll learn something new. A few things you'll need to understand over the course of this video are the concepts of cause and effect and symbolism. To do so, let's use Geto's best buddy, Satoru Gojo. Imagine I throw a paper plane causing it to fly, and then gravity causes it to fall. Pretty boring, right? Well, that's cause and effect. But what about this? Now I throw the airplane, and as it ascends, Gojo is like, nah, I'd win. And when it falls, Gojo is trapped for eternity. That's more interesting, right? The plane flying represents Gojo succeeding. The falling represents his failure. By simply adding a couple Gojo clips, we just created a bit of depth. That's symbolism. Both are integral to Geto's story. So instead of a paper airplane and memes, what if we use the actual anime? In one scene, we see Gojo playing with his friends, Geto and Riko. And then Riko dies and he almost dies, and we see him floating in the air, high as a kite, saying, "I alone am the honored one." Now, what if the music that plays when he says that is the same as when he was playing with his friends? It's implying that the same satisfaction he got fresh off nearly dying was equal to that of spending time with his friends. The friends that, This is something JJK does a lot, and there may be no better example of this than Geto's fall, because like with Gojo, the show ties symbolism and cause and effect directly into Geto's story. Part of what makes his downfall so impactful is this was a man who was fully committed to his duty as a sorcerer. Despite having the unfortunate job of eliminating cursed spirits that hurt humans, he did what was considered right. He followed orders to a near religious degree, and he protected the weak even though he saw that there were times that they burdened the strong. But from the moment we met him, two conflicting paths were always there: a radical hatred of humans and a human desire to bury that hatred. At different times, he indulged one at the expense of the other, but it was a foregone conclusion one would eventually win out. It all starts with a single mission, one that would change his life forever. That mission was to escort Riko. From the moment her life began, she had one purpose: to be the new vessel for an immortal sorcerer named Tengen, whose body could no longer keep up. If his body were to give out, he would cease to become human, which could threaten the entire planet. The job was to deliver Riko to Tengen, that's all. So that's what Geto and Gojo set out to do, but complications arise. A religious group who worships Tengen don't want him tainted by a new vessel, so they hired an assassin, and a bounty is placed on her head. Because of this, they all spend quality time together and even extend their time because Riko's having fun. They see her likes, her dislikes, and what's important to her. But it is her last day, and she needs to be handed over to Tengen. When they arrive at their destination, they're attacked by the assassin, Toji Fushiguro, a man without cursed energy. As he stabs Gojo in the back, Geto and Riko head for Tengen. It's there, standing at the edge of her end, that it hits Geto. Riko is like him, someone sacrificing their life for the weak, except unlike him, she didn't sign up for this. She's never had a choice. She should, shouldn't she? If that's what she wants, so be it. But if she doesn't, if she wants to live her life how she sees fit, she should be able to do that too. Riko wants to live. Then Toji puts a bullet through her skull. Geto's best friend was defeated by this non-sorcerer. Then Toji killed Riko right in front of him. Geto has his chance to fight Toji and gets his ass kicked. Toji taunts him. "You, a sorcerer, just lost to a non-sorcerer, a monkey." It's not only humiliating, but earth-shattering for his belief system. When Geto returns to the Star Religious Group's base with Riko's dead body, these non-sorcerers, these monkeys, they applaud. Gojo straight up asks, should we kill these guys? And Geto says no, there's no point, and there needs to be. That's brutal, but if that was all it was, there may have been a chance that things ended up differently. But there was more. At the beginning of that arc, Geto and Gojo say, "We are the strongest." But after Gojo masters his abilities and easily defeats Toji in a rematch, it's been made clear there is no we here. Gojo is the strongest. Because of that, he's off doing more solo missions than ever. Their friend Shoko, as a healer, is never sent on dangerous missions. For the year after Riko's death, Geto's isolated from his friends, exercising and absorbing spirits on repeat, and you can tell it takes a toll on him. When his friend Haibara dies on a mission, he really starts questioning himself. Is the only thing waiting for him a mountain of his comrades' corpses? Who is he doing this for? Then he learns another host for Tengen has been found. Riko's death meant absolutely nothing, which leads to probably the most important conversation of his story. A sorcerer named Yuki lets Geto in on a secret. As sorcerers, by exercising spirits, they've been treating symptoms the entire time and ignoring the actual cause. Sorcerers don't create cursed energy, the cause of cursed spirits, humans do. There are really only two options here: eliminate cursed energy or make humans capable of controlling it. Geto offers a third choice. What about eliminating all humans? Yuki asks, "Do you hate them?" And he doesn't have an answer. Their value is wavering in his mind. Part of him despises them, and part of him wants to reject those feelings. And Yuki says, "It's up to you to choose." Remember, we know Geto as a caring person. His relationship with Riko showed that, same with Gojo. Even after he turns, he doesn't hurt Shoko when he easily could have. Before Haibara's final mission, Geto asking him to bring back souvenirs was his way of indirectly saying, "Hey, please come back safe." And it goes both ways. We see how important he is to Gojo. We see it with the people he saves. They care for Geto, and we understand why. So we care too. I brought up the symbolism before, and there are so many great visual cues that symbolize what he's going through as he descends. There's a scene with him contemplating everything in the shower, and the way the water comes down is in the exact rhythm of the clapping he heard from the religious group after Riko died. It happens again with his conversation with Yuki with the sound of the rain. When he goes on a mission to a village and sees the humans have captured two sorcerers, Mimiko and Nanako, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. They want to kill these children, even though Geto exorcised the actual curses. This can no longer stand, so he butchers the entire village. This will be his new cause. All humans will die, and to prove he's serious, he even kills his own parents. As he made that choice, we see two candles. One of them has been blown out. He's chosen his path. Geto the person has now blended seamlessly into Geto the radical. In the frames he's killing villagers, it's not just that these bad things happened, it's not just that humans do bad things, it's that they're all still there. By sound, by cinematography, by dialogue. Riko died, yet we hear that pain linger a year later when he's in the shower. So even though we think what Geto is doing is wrong, we understand him. This is a man who is asking himself existential questions only for all of his life experiences to answer them for him, guiding his path. When you understand someone, even one doing horrible things, it tends to get harder to hate them. But understanding is not justification. His powers are entirely consistent with his fall too. He swallows cursed spirits, which is essentially eating the physical manifestation of human hatred. Of course he'd question whether they deserve to be saved or not. He's literally eating their hatred again and again to his utter disgust, seeing what's inside these creatures he's supposed to protect. Then there's Gojo. Their relationship is an extremely important aspect of Geto's character. I mean, look at how each person remembers the moment their relationship fell apart. When we see it from Gojo's perspective, everything is dark. This is a sad, painful memory for him because when Geto made his choice, it also meant Gojo was doomed to walk his life alone. The one person who saw him for him was now his enemy. But look at Geto's perspective on it. It's bright out. This isn't a man in anguish, it's a man who has found a new path, and these scenes are a telling look into their mindsets at the time. When they have their KFC breakup, Gojo's words, "It's impossible to kill every non-sorcerer," ties back to their "We are the strongest" line from the beginning. Geto flat out says, "You could do it," which points out that Gojo no longer considers them to be equals, so he fires back. Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo, or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? Geto knew the loneliness Gojo felt, having been propped up as the strongest his whole life, but Geto always saw him as a person. This is a direct shot at his former friend's identity and sense of self. There's another important part too. There's a line where Geto justifies his philosophy saying, "There is a point and a meaning to it, it's also justice." Well, what does that mean? The point is the outcome, ridding the world of non-sorcerers. The justice is obvious, he believes the act is just. But there's the third part, the meaning. That comes back later in their conversation. If you want to kill me, kill me. There's meaning in that too. So what is that referring to? It's Geto's feelings towards non-sorcerers. That feeling is hatred. That perfectly fits the second part of the conversation, because now the meaning isn't Geto's feelings, it's his interpretation of Gojo's feelings for him. Hatred, right? But Gojo, by refusing to take out a valid threat, a man whose goal is genocide, shows what those feelings are, and it's not hatred. The point was there, the justice was there, the meaning was not. In the JJK movie, Geto talks a lot of nonsense to the point that you think he's cosplaying as something he's not. But there are a few lines that, if you believe them, recontextualize his entire story. How selfish, but it's self-affirmation. After all, there's nothing more important in life. At the beginning, Geto protects the weak because that's his duty as someone strong. Survival of the weak is how society is measured. But when Gojo counters, saying, looking out for the weak is exhausting, and that assigning responsibility to the strong is something only the weak do, Geto doesn't have a comeback, to the point that even visually, we symbolically see Gojo won that argument as he scores while Geto angrily stares. With Riko, he doesn't oppose her erasure, yet when it's time to do so, because he's gotten to know her, he allows her to choose her own path, despite the fact that this means everything they have done will have been for nothing, and it won't stop there. There could be lasting consequences from Tengen as well. After the confrontation with Toji, he questions everything, except he can't actually come up with a way to move forward on his own. It's a combination of being unable to counter Gojo, Toji's words to him as he's failed, and Yuki affirming the radical half of him that allows him to choose a path. When you think about it, none of these were things he came up with on his own. Everything was a seed planted that he then acted on. Riko choosing her fate, viewing humans as monkeys, and slaughtering people without care. It's an interesting wrinkle to his character. And the fact that he's goofy and Zero plays into all of this, because at this point, he's come too far to go back, so he must be right and continue this genocide hidden under the veil of saving the world. That's the self-affirmation he gave himself up until he died. And he had to, because the alternative would mean admitting his entire existence as a sorcerer was meaningless, that his cause wasn't to save the world, it was to save himself from despair. Seriously, think about it. What is Geto's end goal? Eradicate cursed energy. Due to his ability, consuming cursed spirits, his ideal outcome literally makes him weaker. But isn't his whole thing about strength, that the weak are a burden? There could certainly be a self-loathing element to this, but I think it's something else. Because of the conflicting beliefs inside him and him having to abandon one to accept another, he was destined to be miserable whether he succeeded or failed. He was incapable of having a happy ending. He literally says as much. It's just that in this world, I couldn't truly be happy from the bottom of my heart. Ironically, no one needed the monkeys to exist more than the man who wanted to wipe them out. These contradictions make characters like Geto so interesting. One more thing to think about is how his character is shown to us maximizes our connection to his character. In the first season of the anime, he's introduced as a villain. In JJK 0, he's not only the big bad, he's kind of a nutjob. Then we get to the hidden inventory arc where we learn about his past, his relationship with Gojo, and what made him who he was. And in Season 2, we learn he died after JJK 0, and he's nothing more than a vessel for Kenjaku, much like Riko was supposed to be for Tengen. It all comes full circle for him, and it's tragic. It's an unorthodox way to tell a story, but it's incredibly effective towards making you feel all kinds of different emotions about his character and creating that lasting impact. That's the power of complex storytelling. Even though he's only really featured for 5 episodes, Jujutsu Kaisen manages to create a character with deeper motivations than basically any other you'll see. That's why he's the villain you should hate, but can't. Now subscribe or die.